Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. It's been a minute since we've graced your airways, but we're happy to be back on the show. Corey Neyland and Mark Pavlovich up in the top screens on SportsNetUSA.net. And tonight's show, it's a topic that Mark and I constantly discuss and wonder why we still have this conversation in 2022 in the world of sports. It boggles my mind that we're still having a conversation, but I'm glad we're having this conversation today with two people, two athletes, and well, two athletes, a coach for the Riverside City College Tigers, Alicia Berber, and her team captain, Elizabeth Lau. We're going to be discussing disparaging and disrespectful and unequal treatment between female and male athletes, and we're at the community college level, but this extends far beyond that. Coach Berber, Elizabeth, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us.
again for having us.
Okay, and with the show, we like to get right into it. And always, Mark Pavlovich, you start us off and where we're going to go.
Well, I'm going to start it off, Corey, because everybody's going to say, why do these four get to talk about our subject matter? So, first of all, we've got a Hall of Fame coach right below me on my screen. So, Coach, I'm going to go to you first, and then Elizabeth, I want you to follow up on this. So, I'm basically asking you both the same question. Coach, I know you're a Hall of Fame coach at a couple different Hall of Fames. I know you still hold records at Riverside City College. So give us a little background about why you went to Riverside City College. And then Elizabeth, when she gets done telling her story, we're just going to roll it over to you so we can get a little background on you. So, Coach, give me a little background in your entire story.
On my entire story, well, my story actually started at UC Riverside. I did not succeed very well there in the classroom. In my opinion, I wasn't ready. I wouldn't tell you that right out of high school because I think every student athlete wants to go straight to university. Riverside City College did recruit me. Michael Barnes did recruit me, and then of course I didn't succeed very well at UC Riverside. So that's how I ended up calling Coach Barnes back and said, can I please still have an opportunity to continue and play? And I think with the community college, it certainly gave me the avenue to continue and do that and become a successful student. When I was done playing for him, I was the most highly recruited athlete he's ever had. RCC, bettered me in every aspect of my life, athletically and academically. And that's how I ended up moving on to Washington State. And then, one of my life goals and life dreams, what brought me back to RCC, they actually interviewed me as we are interviewing Elizabeth here as a student athlete. They interviewed me and they asked me, what are you going to do when you graduate and you're done playing basketball? And I said exactly these words. I said, I'm going to come back and I'm going to take Coach Mike Barnes' job. And I did exactly that. I believe it changed my life in such a positive way that I wanted to give back to the student athletes. So, I mean, that's pretty much my story. And I've been at RCC. I had lots of dreams, even coaching at the next level beyond RCC. And I think it just kept me there because how much I can give to the student athletes and change their lives just as much as my life was changed.
And Elizabeth, let's find out about you because I sort of feel like you might be walking in the footsteps of the young woman to your right who has set up a path for you at the next level.
Yeah. So my story is a little different. I played at basketball up until high school and I graduated and I actually went to UCR as well. At UCR, I wanted to try to walk on tryout, but the coach at that time he didn't allow walk on tryouts. So I just played recreation ball at school and just kept at it. I graduated with a BA in psychology, and then soon after I graduated, the pandemic hit. So I actually started going to RCC to take some Adobe classes, some software classes to, broaden my skills. And I was interested in their basketball program. So I emailed Coach Berber actually, I think 3 times, asking her if not even just to try out. I asked her if I could just be part of the program. However, she, saw that she could use me. And from there, she invited me out to a tryout, and I guess she liked what she saw. And then I stayed, and we've had a great year. And for me, it was always a dream for me to play at the next level. So for me, I really lived the dream this year.
Excellent. Corey, I think what's interesting here on the subject matter that we're going to go to next is we have generational athletes, two females that come from different decades as athletes, as players, and then as even from the coaching aspect. So we're going to get to see a historic attitude about our subject matter tonight. And in saying that, my friend, I'm throwing it to you to lead everything off for us on where we're going.
So, Coach, I will start with you about why we're discussing this now. There was, and for those who don't know, um, it's the treatment that your basketball team specifically and other female athletes at the school have encountered. Just basically plain disrespect of other male athletes and coaches that, and the administration that don't produce the same level of, I'll say, interest in your program. Can you explain what the claim brought and why you brought this forward?
Well, this is no news to Riverside City College. I have brought my concerns, oh my gosh, numerous times to their attention. And I would say one of the most the history, when you talk about the history of RCC, Mike Barnes, when he was getting ready to retire, I discovered that he was not getting equal pay as the men's coach. So the stipend was significantly lower. So there's a very historical culture at Riverside City College. Have they tried to fix some things? I would give them credit to try and fixing some things, but not everything. And, it starts from unequal pay. It goes to women's coaches doing laundry, and where male coaches do not have to do that. I find myself at 2 in the morning, instead of watching film, I'm changing the load from the washer to the dryer to make sure my team is taken care of. Um, and then the list goes on as far as what really preempted all of this. I've requested multiple times for shared time in the weight room with the other male teams, and always denied or suggested, well, coach, you can have a Monday, and then the next available day is a Friday. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure out the training that these student athletes need. You can't work out on Monday and then wait to work out on Friday. So you need a Monday, Wednesday, Friday workout, a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday workout. So it wasn't. It was like, just throw something at us, and hopefully they'll just suffice with that, and that'll be okay. Then it was constant requesting, and I'll tell you, the academic affairs, um, Lynn Wright, VP
Mhm.
Lynn Wright, incredible direction from her down to the dean, down to the chair, to make sure that we are trying to get that equal time. And of course, the male teams were upset that, I mean, if you want to call it a mini victory or just the simple fact that we have a little bit of equality in there, which we still, in the fall, our time was modified. We still had to work around other things. And then it got to the point where not only were they upset that we were now starting to possibly get in there more, then the
Mhm.
retaliation started towards the student athletes. Now, I've endured a lot in my 20 years. And like I've said, I'm very grateful for how RCC has changed my life. But I shouldn't have to endure anything. I should be focusing on my team. And when I have to deal with things within the department with my colleagues that is not so nice, when it trickles down to the student athletes, I think that's absolutely terrible. to the point where, and I know Liz will be able to talk about this, is going in there and working out. And as they're lifting weights, the men's team, the men's football team, they come in and they just start pulling bars off the racks and weights out of the room. And I'll let Liz talk more about that. But just the disregard for women is really saddening. And it's a terrible culture to be part of, because I am RCC. I'm a product of RCC. I love RCC, and I just think the people that are in there, it has been brought to the president's attention 2 years ago. I addressed it with the board of trustees twice, and you get this feeling. Is anybody doing anything about it? Well, I mean, somebody has to do something about it. I feel like everybody's just tossing words around with no action. And I think what really preempted this whole attention that we are now getting is my student athletes, incredible voice, courageous. I'm not so sure when I was a student athlete and I'm watching the men getting fed. And when I was a player, I wasn't getting fed. After games, the men got everything, the women didn't get anything. I'm not so sure back then I would have as much courage as these young ladies have had in the last, couple months. I am incredibly proud of them. But that's really what, kind of the history and what prompted, the whole discussion with Title IX, and we're exhausted. I know I'm exhausted. So they're living it, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
And we're going to discuss the Title IX and what it means to you two. But you talked about Elizabeth and the courage that you and your teammates had. First off, how did you get that courage? And yeah, basically, how did you get that courage? 'Cause I'm like, Coach, I like to speak my mind, but I'm not sure I'm going to face it on camera.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I got my courage from my mom. I'm a first generation Asian American, so my mom came here on her own by herself and, made the American dream happen for herself. So she's always taught me, don't let anyone like put you down, like speak up for what you believe in. So I think also maybe because I've been to college, I'm a little older, so I do understand when, someone is trying to kind of diminish you or make you feel less than, what you are. So I could like recognize that. And, I am a big believer in being the change that I want to see in the world. So from that, I just told my team like we have to act as a catalyst. We will inspire so many younger women, older women. We will inspire so many women in general just by doing this. So that was enough confidence that I needed. And I knew that once we said it, we'd get support or backlash, whichever. But I was just so sure that the support would outweigh everything.
Okay.
Here's my problem, Coach, with the beginning of this. Too many people, when they hear the term Title IX, and we see it on television all the time, it's just attributed to women athletics. I mean, Title IX protects every athlete or student on campus. It's not a gender act. So if it was, let's say, Riverside City College started spending buku bucks on women's teams and built new stadiums and everything else. And as a male coach, I got absolutely nothing. I could scream Title IX and say, hey, the diversity is not fair. Here's my problem with it right now. For male coaches to not understand what Title IX means to start with, shame on them. And I don't give a darn what sort of college degree they've got. I don't care how smart they think they are. I don't really care. If they don't understand the law itself, then somebody ought to take them to task at the college and say, excuse me, gentlemen, we're going to have somebody come in from the government class, explain civil rights to you, and explain Title IX to you, and then you got to take a test. And if you can't pass it, you know what? You're not going to be coaching right now, because if you don't understand what the hell's going on, excuse me, Ed, it's about time you need to leave the coaching ranks. And this is my frustration, that coaches in general are supposed to be a fraternity. That's all we ever hear. Hey, we're a fraternity. We're a sorority. We love our female coaches, but what you're telling me right now, and I'll take blame for this. Your male coaches don't care about their counterparts at Riverside City College. Yes or no?
Oh, I agree. I think, to lump people up in a big group, I think that would be unfair. But overall, the culture is pretty toxic. And it was so evident that night that we had made a statement with the shirts where it just really made everybody uncomfortable. We weren't asking you to throw things on the court. We weren't asking you to chant, the heck with RCC. We weren't doing anything. We were asking to unite for women's sports. If you notice, our shirt did not say women's basketball. We are advocating for all women. Our softball team was there. Michelle is an incredible coach, an incredible teacher. Have so much respect for her, and her team was there in support. And maybe nobody even knew that, but just we knew that. We knew the people that were in attendance, and we knew that, like Liz said, you're either going to get backlash, you're going to get a positive response. And oh wow, I mean, people could really show their true colors. And it was interesting because some of my male counterpart coaches, we support you. Okay, wear a
Mhm.
shirt. Well, why do I have to wear a shirt to show you that we support you? And
Wow.
it just really made a lot of people uncomfortable. And then I thought to myself, well, you're not going to reach everybody. And those that you're going to reach, it's going to matter. It's going to make a difference. And I'll tell you, it is actually warmed my heart. And I'll tell you a story. On Thursday, the 24th, when we had that game, there were over
Mhm.
500 people in attendance. It was absolutely incredible. That gym has never had that many people in attendance for a game since the Tarkanian days. And they had a gym that was super packed, but
Mhm.
ours is second to that. That we were proud of. And just to see the support in the local high school teams, Ramona High School, Moreno Valley High School, Hillcrest High School. I know I'm going to miss some high schools. Our conference team, Fullerton, Santa Ana, Cypress, Irvine. If you look at our Instagram, you will see the pictures of them supporting us at their place. But this is a story I want to get to. This is what really just energized me even more. On Thursday after that game, that Saturday, I went to my daughter's travel ball basketball tournament. She plays for Demand Basketball here in Riverside. I'm going to give them a shout out. Incredible coaches, incredible local coach that they need to get recognition for what they're doing with our kids here in Riverside. We go to the tournament on Saturday, and a mom runs up to me, Coach, we were at your game. Turns Draws the attention towards her daughter, and her daughter is wearing our shirt and her travel ball warm up. What bigger message do I need to just make sure that these young ladies really know and understand what Title IX is and what their rights for equality are? And I'll even go a step further. We have sold 463 shirts that are going to be traveling with me this Wednesday at our 3C2A state championships, where the Elite Eight women's basketball teams will be wearing our shirt for the celebration of Title IX 50 years. Tomorrow marks the Women's Month. I just, it's incredible. And we are not going to stop until change happens.
Coach,
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to tell Corey, I got to tell the coach one thing. Corey and I were doing a basketball game for Cypress College. We've done it this season. And the SID came up to us and said, "Oh, guys, by the way, this is what's going on at Riverside." He let us know. And our girls are going to be wearing t shirts. Corey can tell you, I get freebies from different colleges. And I immediately said to Brett, "Hey, could you get me a medium in the equality shirt? And Corey needs a double X." And he stared at us. And he goes, "Okay, yeah, I'll do that." And he went downstairs and they had cancer, the coach's cancer shirts too.
Yeah.
And I asked for those. And Corey said, "If we get anything, we want the equality shirts because you're looking at two guys here that would probably have them on the show right now if we'd have gotten the T-shirts, because both of us will always go out and say women's sports. No, no offense to either one of you, but women's sports are never respected the way men's sports are. And so, for your cause, I've got to praise both of you for what you did. And in saying that, Corey, I'm just going to quickly go to Elizabeth, because Elizabeth, you have a coach that is just outstanding. What an incredible educator she is. And let me put that first. She is an educator. But as a youthful individual coming into sports, what's your mindset on this where it really still is old school? We're going back to the 50s. Man is superior, women is inferior. And what I got, darling, too bad. You can only wish you had what I had. What is the mindset for a young woman like you to deal with this?
I think, it's discouraging, but at the same time, it kind of lights a fire under you to really be that change that you want to see. Because the last thing is, I don't want my children to have to go through what I've gone through, because I know Coach has gone through it. She lived through it. And for us to still be living through it, like you guys said, it's 2022. It's just a little ridiculous. I can understand that women's sports, the market, whatever you want to say about it, it's not as big or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, these women who are playing sports, they're showing younger females and just younger people in general that you can be so much more, because these women who are playing sports at a high level, they're also mothers. They're also, have different backgrounds. Like, Coach Berber, she was all American, and she's a fantastic mother, not only to her children, but to us too. So just the mindset of itself is not really like I'm upset, but it's more like I want to change it. Like, I got to do something to change it. You know, if the people that came before me, they tried it, we're going to try a different way, because whatever they did, it didn't work, because it's still happening. But I also think the change has to come from the top, like wherever the top may be. And I really appreciate when, like, NBA players shout out the WNBA and stuff, because it shows that people really do watch the game. And if you watch, like, women have good game. They're decisive with their movements. They're like, the footwork is crazy on some of these girls. So it's just really more of a, so many people have already done their part to pave the way for me. I want to do the same, and I want to, make the most positive impact I can while I'm in the sport.
Okay. And with that, we'll keep it with you, Elizabeth. With that, what does Title IX mean to you? Because Mark brought up and Coach brought it up what Title IX is, but what does it mean to you, and how you proceed in being that person that's going to move be the change?
Yeah, so I mean, Title IX just stands for, like you said, equality for athletes, right? Like, you were saying that if the men, like, had the same issue, they could come out and scream Title IX, but they don't really understand what it means. So for me, Title IX is kind of like the basis. Like, we all go to school to hope to get an equal opportunity at an equal education, right? So I don't see
Right.
why sports is any different. Sports is a foundational thing that if you start somewhere and you keep building and building, yourself, you get stronger, like, your skills get stronger over time. And Title IX is basically saying, like, we have the equal opportunity to get as good as the boys. But, it's just tough to see that still people think that women are not worthy, or, that our accomplishments, our hard work and stuff is not comparable to men, because in reality, I don't know. I don't know, but we don't know who works harder. But if you're always going to tell us that we're not working harder, obviously we're going to try to work even harder.
Exactly. And Coach, real quick, now, Title IX for you is going to be different, as you both said, because Coach, we're about the same age. I think I'm a lot older, but I can I can remember I can remember reading your name in the paper back in the day, um, because following sports the way I did, and it confuses me, or not even confused, mystifies me to no end that you read your resume as an All American, multiple Hall of Fame, Final Fours, championship games, and the respect not given. What does Title IX mean to you in that aspect? And how do we get further along with somebody with your credentials?
Oh, wow. I mean, those credentials, I'll tell you, just came with just the love of the game. You know, you don't step on the court thinking, oh, today I'm going to work really hard to get it to be an All American or Hall of Fame. I just have a passion and a love for this game. And that equality is so important for me. And I mean, it goes all the way around as far as, you know, just sports or pay. You know, I I've been there so long, and then you know nothing against our men's coach Phil Matthews, but he comes in and gets a contract that's 3 times the amount that I'm making. Wow, would be nice to have that pay.
Mhm.
I have a kid in college. You know, it's not personal with Coach Matthews because obviously it's a system that's broken. It's not his fault.
Mhm.
But gosh, how do we change that? Well, Elizabeth couldn't say it anymore. It starts from the top. And
Right.
it's got to be, you know, if the president is the top or the chancellor or the board of trustees, I mean, obviously we don't know who's going to make these decisions. But in my eyes, they're not really hard decisions to make. You know, they're either concerned for all their student athletes or they're just going to continue this culture. This culture has always been like that at RCC. But you know, one thing that's never going to change for me. I mean, I was working the football games in the fall. I was doing vaccination check-ins. If I
Right.
had a grudge or a dislike for the student athletes or you know the coaches, I would not be there helping. I was just talking to one of our student athletes today. Hey, we got to get to a softball game, a baseball
Mhm.
game. I love you know going in and supporting the other student athletes. And over all the years, I haven't just helped my student athletes. I've helped other student athletes. So I just think that there's just a culture that's so deep that it's going to take somebody at the top that's going to have a lot of courage to make those changes. And I like the idea of training the coaches and letting them understand what Title IX is. And if they fail the test, yeah, they should retake it maybe 10 more times. I don't think we're going to stop them from coaching. But I think
Right.
more than anything, educating people. And I think that's what's most important to me. What better education for my own daughter that's going to be in high school next year? Here's a funny little story. We're sitting at home yesterday, and my husband's talking to my son. And my husband said, hey, we got to get you a new fishing pole. We're going to get ready to go camping maybe this summer. And my daughter turns around to her dad and says, hey, you better get me a new fishing pole because if not, that's Title IX. The boys and girls get the same thing, Dad. So, what better
That's
message?
funny.
My daughter's already worn our shirt like 3 or 4 times to school. She was just part
Mhm.
of a women's leadership little dream big conference at the Riverside courthouse there, and they told them to wear their nice clothes for this event to listen to speakers, and she went in the shirt again. So I thought
Okay.
that was really awesome. Yeah.
You know, Corey, I'm once again, I'm the dissenting voice on here. Being an old guy and a child of the '60s, and I know Coach is being kind there. And we know Coach Matthews. Corey can tell you, Coach Matthews and I have sat down and talked basketball for hours. If he was in a square right now, yeah, I would look at Coach Matthews and say, Coach, shame on you, for the simple reason that none of us should be discriminated against. Every one of us should have an opportunity. If I fail at what I do and you give me every tool to do it and I fail at it, then look at me and say, hey, you're not meant for this area. You were given everything that you needed and you couldn't do it. But here's my question: what bothers me with the female coaching groups is you hear the 50th anniversary coming up for Title IX. And the big coaches will say on national TV when they get to getting ready for the tournament coming up, oh, we've gone so far. Yes, do we still have to do things? We've gone so far. And I want to look at them and say, for every success story you tell me, I can hear a story like this, being an athlete dealing with sexual harassment, which is part of Title IX, which Fresno State failed on, and it's a noted story and has been a national story. For education itself, where it should be science, engineering, and math opportunities for young ladies like Elizabeth, that high schools had to file a lawsuit in California for Title IX to get young women to have those opportunities. I look at someone like Coach Matthews and you say, well, I don't blame him. I have to go the other direction and say, excuse me, come on, guys. Yes, it's your fault. You didn't look at the other programs if you're a true sports fan. Corey Neyland's nickname is Title IX. Corey's not a promoter of it. Corey just loves sports, coach. And Elizabeth, when you talked about great athletes, Corey will tell you when they talk about great college athletes, he puts 3 female players in there in the top 10 with the men as great basketball players. So I have to go back and say, is it not the fault maybe of also the coaching organizations, be it in community college, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and also the CCCAA for not being behind your back when something like this happens?
Well, it'll be interesting what the 3C2A does this week at the state tournament. I don't think they know what's coming because this just happened so organically. It'll be interesting to see what they're going to do when they see the teams all wearing these shirts in the Elite Eight. What's going on here? Like, where did they get these shirts? I don't know what their response is going to be. I can tell you this: all day Saturday and all day yesterday on Sunday, I called 96 community colleges. I spoke to coaches. I heard their stories. Oh my, incredible. People crying. Coach, I love you. Thank you so much. Give me a shirt. I want to get one. They're yelling to their daughters. What size do you wear? We got to get one of these shirts. Coach, we're going to be there at this game. And that just right there just knows that we're on the right path to bring attention. So I don't know what the 3C2A is going to do. I would hope that they see these shirts at the sophomore showcase and say, where are these coming from? What is happening? Well, one, we're celebrating 50 years of Title IX. So
Right.
in my opinion, there should be something at the state tournament celebrating that. There should be some kind of emblem on the shirts that they give the state players. I don't think anybody's doing anything like that. We were actually in the works of creating a Title IX celebration in January, but because of all the COVID stuff, it held us back. So we rescheduled it for October 22, where we got Cheryl Miller involved. I mean, I don't know what other message that we can send. Cheryl Miller was at our game and addressed the crowd and used the words, we deserve to be here. I mean, she's the biggest women's basketball player ever. And I don't know what it's going to take for somebody to listen. I really don't know.
I will say when you bring that up, Corey will tell you that out of the Miller family, Cheryl is the better basketball player. He has said it on the air more than once. Put you
By
on the
far.
spot, Mr. Neyland.
No, no, no spot. By far, that's not even anything that's controversial or wrong. That's by far. Um, and going back to your way back with the weight room, because I really wanted to get into that weight room issue, and then we'll move forward for Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Um, how did you and your team continue to go? What like specific other backlash that you received because of this, and then discuss the positive um, um, help that you received during those issues at that time.
Yeah, I would say the backlash would just be like the 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 vibe, quote unquote, just the feeling that, when we walk by, we're getting looked at a little extra harder, or, when we're in the team room, there's like administrators walking by to make sure like I guess we're
Mhm.
doing what we're supposed to do, but it's kind of like why are you guys so interested in what we're doing during our time to exercise, strengthen ourselves, better ourselves mentally, physically. It's just like they're just adding distractions and it just kind of for me, it's a very simple thing. Like we're not asking for really anything. We're just asking to be treated as equals, right? And
Right.
when we're all growing up, we're taught, treat others the way you want to be treated. So I think it's a very simple, fundamental thing that, all humans should have is just treat each other with respect. So I think there's just a small lack of respect and like out of because of what we did, I think I think we're respected more by others on campus because like
Mhm.
I'll be walking by and here's an example. I went to the cafeteria to buy some lunch today and the,
Mhm.
the cafeteria lady was like, good job, I saw you. I want a shirt. I'm gonna talk to coach. And I was like, thank you so much for the support. So it's like it. I mean, really, the support is from people who've also experienced similar, disparities and felt like they were also looked down upon simply because they're women sometimes. So
Okay.
it's a mix of both, but for us, we just know we're in there to do our thing and work out. So we, keep focused, get our stuff done. We utilize the time that we're given because we don't want to waste it. But we're happy that we're given the time now.
Okay. And did you ever feel like it was too much doing this as a player, as a student, as just living your regular life? Did you ever feel it was too much?
For me, it didn't feel like too much because, like I said, this is a very fundamental thing for me. Like,
Okay.
this is something that I've been taught since I was little, like an eye for an eye type of thing. So it wasn't tough for me. For me, it was more like, yes, I want to do it. I want to help the team. I want to help the culture. I want to help the next generation. My attitude with a lot of things is how can I help, so I think that's for me it's a little different. I was really eager and excited to help.
Okay.
Corey, I got to ask Coach Berber because she brought up that the shirts are going to be out at the playoffs. Because Ed Ford and Corey Neyland are big proponents of women's sports, and so am I. We know a lot of female coaches. Lisa, the softball coach at Santiago Canyon, she's probably as mouthy as I am. Cody, a little more reserved over at Cerritos. Uh, Speedy, softball coach over at Fullerton and Crystal. Yeah, because there's a little disparity between baseball and softball over there. And I just sort of whispered in their ear and said, you ought to throw title line. So let's say the worst comes up at the playoffs. And they look at you and say, everybody needs to take those T-shirts off. We're not going to allow a political statement. Will there be, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Will there be where you start calling coaches and say, it's a real time that we need to look at next year for basketball and look at the CCCAA and say if we don't get more support, we might just have to form our own group that respects women since you don't.
Well, I think it's going to take a lot more than them asking all these coaches that are going to be at state to take these shirts off. You would not believe the incredible. We actually had an anonymous donor buy the shirts for the Elite Eight teams. Everybody else
Wow.
is paying the $10. So when you get an anonymous donor sending money to our president of the state organization, the 3C2A, I think, will put themselves in a bind if they literally ask the teams to take those shirts off. Because there's not anything wrong with those shirts. I mean, it literally says equality in women's sports. And on the back, it says, we deserve to be here. There's nothing that says, this is all because of Riverside or anything like that. It's just a universal positive message. And I hope they perceive it to be well, because I'll tell you, one of the things, and Liz and I have talked about this, is it's so shocking. I've been treated differently, obviously, when I speak up. It's been like that for so long. But the thing that's so disheartening to me, as I shared with you, I worked at the vaccination part of the football games, and I did that
Mhm.
freely. I didn't get paid. Um, and one of the things that was so shocking is they were checking vaccinations at the first and second quarter, but they folded up the table and put it away for the second half. Last time I checked, COVID doesn't know if it's first half or second half, first of all.
Right.
Exactly.
Secondly, we were at our game and the men's team was deployed and put tables against the doors to redirect people on how to get into our game. That was so, I don't even know what the word is, disgusting to even watch them block the doors. And then I had to get into the game, and then the news reporters were there, and then I had to coach the game, and it just made me
Mhm.
sick to my stomach. And then our men's basketball team had a game on, what was it? Was it Wednesday, Liz? I can't remember what
I
day. Was
think
it Wednesday?
Thursday, last
Just
Thursday.
Thursday, last Thursday. So I'm at home, very few minutes that I ever get just sitting down, and I get a call from my student athletes. Coach, they're making us pay to get in the game. I said, what? What are you talking about? They're making you pay to get into the game to our own gym. And so I called the athletic director and he says, well, everybody's got to pay. So what are you talking about? And then I thought, just the way I'm built, I gave him grace because maybe he doesn't know the 3C2A rules and guest list and all the other stuff. And
Mhm.
I said, I told him, I said, don't worry about it. I'm coming down there and I'm going to pay for my student athletes to get into the game to their own gym to watch and support the men. So I went down there. I was
She
in
did.
sandals, hair's all messed up, and came down there and paid with my own credit card for my team to get in. And, oh, don't worry about it, coach. We made a mistake. Oh, you better believe you made a mistake. But since you
Ah,
made my my team, you made my team feel unwelcome in shock and amazement that they wouldn't just be welcomed into their own gym. And come to find out there was a guest list for people to get in free. Why would you even do that to my student athletes? And so, but we got through it. With that was right, Liz. Our
Yeah,
theme this year was roll with the punches. Let's go. Coach paid for us to get into our own gym. It's okay. There you go, 3C2A. I just made a $80 donation to you. But those kind of things are just shocking, sad, for my student athletes to have to go through. I'm their coach. Throw it at me, punch me in the face. Don't like me, but don't do it to my student athletes. That's
Yeah,
just that's completely uncalled for.
I can't even imagine what you guys went through on that day because that's just plain stupid for a school to do that. Um, we have been around colleges and for 20 some years now as broadcasters. We have never heard of anything like that, even remotely for the student athletes. I really applaud you all, you two and your team, for because I'm pretty even keel, but even that Mark, if you've known him, he's a little bombastic, but even that would have um I probably would have went off, and I applaud you for that. I really wanted to know because we had Michelle Dodona on last year talking about the softball team and a little bit about this as well. I'm lucky enough that my cousin grew up with her playing softball, so I we can appreciate what she does for the school and women's sports, and her parents running the snack bar. I,
Mm.
I just want to know how you all are not so petty because I would be petty. I would be like I'm not supporting y'all if you're not supporting me. How else do you do that? And I have another question because that just came to my mind real quick.
Well, I think it's just wanting to give back and educating.
Okay.
You can't give an adverse reaction to somebody that's angry. My grandmother used to teach me, two wrongs don't make a right. Right? Two wrongs don't make a right. And I just think, and hats off to Michelle Dodonna. I mean, I don't even know if she even knows this, but I watch the way she does things with her team and her family. My family, my husband's the announcer, my kids are working the snack bar. Michelle does the same thing because there isn't resources for us. So we make it happen. And we make it happen because it's important for our female student athletes to feel wanted, and to have that college experience that we had. I mean, there's days I see Michelle and I'm just like, man, we just need to go to like the Mission Inn and go get a spa treatment. I mean, we're running around with laundry, dumping it in our cars, and I know she's a mom and has a lot of responsibility, and I know what she does for her student athletes, it's just, how do we not respond in such a negative way?
Mhm.
Well, I think it's just a bigger picture, and I think that's what it the message, like, we don't want this to be negative. We want it to be fixed, but we want
Mhm.
it to be welcomed and say, "Okay, how can we make this better?" And then we move on. No grudges, just move on.
Okay. And real quick, the story about the story brought in the coverage that you receive. Um, how do you feel? Because I've noticed sometimes when we watch Riverside basketball specifically, there have been broadcasts for Riverside City College men's basketball. They've had announcers, they've had coverage, and then you watch the women's game. And I'm not talking the next week for the women's game, your games. I'm talking about the same night, and the broadcasters are packed up and left. Um, how do you, as a player specifically, how do you feel when you just don't have that coverage that the men receive?
I mean, yeah, like it's discouraging, you know. We are all student athletes. We pay the same tuition. We go to the same classes, you know. We see each other on campus. We all have to buy the same parking permits, you know. We're equals. So it's like they're really diminishing us as people, you know. You're basically saying my hard work, my dedication to my academics, like like our team GPA is near over a 3.6, which is extremely high, you know. And you're just it by them not like kind of like leaving after the men's game, it's just really, you know, like wow, like you couldn't spare another hour of your time. Like, you know, you already have everything set up. Like, why not just get more footage, you know, more stuff that you can talk about for whatever you need to talk about. It just seems like we are a second thought, you know. And we it's just not a pleasant thing to feel, but like I said, it motivates us to work harder and keep, you know, enforcing this positive message that we just want to be treated as equals. You know, we're not asking for anything really. We're not asking for, you know, we want like a new bus. Like we don't we don't want that. We just want to be treated
Oh, don't
as
talk about
equal.
the bus, Liz.
Oh, no, I won't get
Wait,
into
wait,
Remember
the
that trip?
no, no. Go ahead and talk about the bus, please do. Uh,
Liz, talk about the
oh,
bus. Go ahead.
talk,
okay.
talk about
So
the bus.
for one of our away games during conference, our coaches drive us normally, and they have two vans that are typically available for them to drive us. And day of, no warning, no nothing, Coach Berber goes over there to pick up the car, and the car is not good to go. So Coach Berber has to drive her own car, and you know, not a single male coach has ever had to do that, right? You know, I'm just taking a wild guess here. I'm not saying like reference quote me to the history books, but
Right.
I'm just gonna take a wild guess here that that's never happened. You know, there's always like a nice bus ready to take everyone together for the boys' games and brings everyone back. You know, whereas to us, we we gotten used to it because you know we're rolling with the punches, but it's like we're separated when we go to games. Not all 10 of us are together, or I mean not all 12 of us are together. Not all of us have the opportunity to like sit and, you know, really like talk before the game until we're at the physical gym. So you know, it's just those little things that add up, that we're not keeping count either. Like we really are just roll with the punches and keep this positivity, because equality for women goes beyond us. You know, it's literally for women. So
Well, we can't
that
leave
was the
out the bus trip to Sequoias. Do you remember the bus
oh
to Sequoias?
yeah, there was like
That was because
flies
of
in there.
a miss a missed schedule. So describe that bus. That was absolutely ridiculous. With
Yeah, the bus was small. It barely fit everybody. And then we soon turned around to realize there's just a bunch of dead flies, dead gnats. on the wall, on the windows. Like, it's just like nobody cleaned this bus before they let us take it. It just looked like that.
That's
Coach,
horrible.
Corey, first of all, I want to praise the coach for always using the phrase student athlete. Mr. Neyland will tell you I usually go on diatribes during games about calling coaches educators and talking about people like you, Elizabeth, that are student athletes. But I'm the gray crowd. I'm the gray cloud tonight because I really need to know. First of all, you're supposed to have a Title IX coordinator at every school. So you come to me and I'm the college president. You tell me what's going on. And of course, what you're telling me right now is nothing happens. Where was the administration in this? And I'm going to call out your administration. In this day and age, we're not in the 1950s. Elizabeth, you said it's 2022. Where
Yeah.
was the administration stepping up saying, this is not right? We need to do something. And don't worry, coach, down the road, even if we have to get a bond on the voters, we're going to get you to. What was the real reaction from your college president and everybody else? Because I don't see anything positive coming from Riverside City College on your behalf.
Well, it was brought up to the president 2 years ago, and he sat there across the table from me and promised that he was going to take care of it and that things were going to get fixed. And not one thing happened, and everything remained the same. Um, it was just words. I feel like sometimes they look at me like, oh, here comes this, complaining lady. Like you said, I've never had a reaction where I just went off on somebody. I think they're expecting me to do that.
Okay.
But good luck with that. I was a student athlete. I have a lot more discipline than that. But just sitting there and listening to my president promise me eye to eye, not on a Zoom meeting, in person, coach, we will look into this. We will take care of it. Nothing. No follow up email, nothing. Just nothing. And that's what prompted me as an individual to file a lawsuit. This is the second lawsuit I filed. How many?
Mhm.
I mean, if you just think about everything that I just said, I love RCC. I love the avenue that it's given me. Everything. I don't think people really understand. It does not feel good to sue the place that absolutely. I mean, I've spent half my life there. It does not feel good to do that. I don't understands that. It does not feel good to do that. And I think it's sad because there's a lot of faculty members. I addressed the equity board last week, got a great response from them. They want to know what can they do as my colleagues. How can we help you? A lot of them were there at the game, wearing the shirts in support, and it does. It starts from the top. I don't think they really. I think they think I might just go away. I don't. I don't know. I'm still there. I'm not going to go away, but I don't know. I call out the president too. He was at our game running around. Do you remember, Liz? He was on the baseline trying to high five everybody. It's like we're in the middle of our stretches. I don't ever see him run over to the sideline and go give high fives to the football players. Like, what are you doing? Again, it distracted what our normal routine was. And Liz is laughing right now because she knows. It's just,
Yeah.
come on. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that's great. You're showing. I mean, he was doing vaccination checks. He came up to me and was like, "Oh, I met your cousin." It's like, what are you doing out in front of the gym
Mhm.
meeting people? I don't understand it. I really don't.
And Elizabeth,
And,
I've got to ask you because if I'm playing for a coach like you've got next to you, who I
Mhm.
respect as an educator, as a young woman that believes in principles in life. I've got to tell you that if I was on the team, I would be totally insulted. Coach, I'm sorry. As you can tell, I've got a mouth on me. I would be
It's
probably
okay.
going up to the president's office, and Corey Naylor would be saying, he knows me too. I'd be rallying the troops. Was there any talk amongst you players where you young women, the players on the team, wanted to just say either enough is enough or we love our coach so much, we're not going to sit here and just play because that's what she would do. Let's go up to the president's office and knock on the door and say, excuse me, Do you not respect this woman? And I want an honest answer. Did that ever pop into your mind or anybody else on the team's mind at the time?
I think there definitely were like times where, in my head I'm like, how do you not respect your fellow worker, your fellow coach, who's been here for so long, who's done so much for this school, for the program, It but I also understand that we live in a very political time where things that you say can be twisted really easily, and that when you do want to say something you have to be so sure of your words and you have to be very careful because everyone's trying to twist your words and take away from whatever meaning you want to give your words. So I think from there were definitely heated discussions between ourselves about how we were feeling mistreated, but in the end we all agreed that if we're going to really make change and be a good role model for others who want to make change, like we have to go at this with a very level-headed approach, and we just have to be just all united on what we want, which is equality.
So this is for the both of you. We're getting to our time.
Oh,
So
it's gone
with
by so
this,
quick. Bring me on again.
I know, I know.
I was going to
Oh,
say,
well,
isn't this?
don't
Wait a
threaten
minute,
that.
Corey. Isn't this? In this 2 hours tonight, Corey? Because Ed Ford's going. Mark's got another half hour's worth of questions.
No, what we're gonna do is we'll revisit this at another time as well because this is an hour. We've got another hour, and then we'll have another hour to discuss this because I've got five more questions that we didn't get into. So with that, I want you both to give your outgoing message for this session that we have with you, and we'll start with Team Captain Elizabeth Lau.
My outgoing message is fight for what you believe in, and really stick to your heart and stick to what stick to what you believe is right, and don't be afraid to speak up, because a lot of people think like it takes political leaders, celebrities, like big voices to make change, but it's really the everyday people that are going through it that can really resonate with you. And once you say what you're feeling, like coach told you, we have an outpour of support from so many people who have felt or gone through the same things or want to make sure that their children don't have to go through the same things. So my message is just be you and don't be afraid.
All right, Coach Berber.
Oh wow, we need a whole nother hour.
Yeah, we
um,
do.
you know, my message is don't be afraid. Have courage. What's the worst that can happen if you speak up? They say no. They're saying no already. But what's the best thing that can happen? You can really make this change. Um, gosh, have integrity, have courage, um, and be a role model. Be a role model for everybody around you. But most importantly, have courage and have integrity. And gosh, I have so many messages. Actions speak louder than words.
All right, we
Actions
like
Corey,
speak
that.
louder than words.
Corey, I just have to thank these two young women for standing up for what you believe in, both of you, and the teammates that are around you, Elizabeth, and the coaches that you know in your sorority in the world of basketball, coach. Uh, Thank you very much for standing up for your principles, because too many times when the big guy in the block looks at you and goes, shame on you, most people will say, whoops, maybe I overstepped my boundaries. And I want to congratulate you. I'm going to say it for myself that, if you need a mouthy old guy, you can track down Ed Ford and say, where's Mr. Pavlovich? I'll show up and stand there with you and look at people in the face and say, shame on you. It's 2022. We shouldn't be talking about this anymore. The women are as talented and probably brighter than most of us men that are standing in this room right now. And you need to understand that in this day and age. And if you don't, then you need to do like I've done, stay in school your entire life and keep learning. So To both of you, thank you for who you are. I appreciate you both with my heart and with what little intellect that I have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We
I
And
appreciate
appreciate
that.
you.
you're very
Yes.
welcome, and that goes for me as well. Thank you for letting us be a small part of this journey, and we will revisit it again because this is something, as Ed Ford and Mark, we talked about it last week. Whatever happened to a couple other incidences in the CCCAA that we've never heard a response for? So, for team captain of the Riverside City College women's basketball team, Elizabeth Lau, for head coach of the Riverside City College basketball team, Alicia Berber, Ed Ford, thanks for getting us up and presenting this. Mark Pavlovich, thank you. I am Corey Neyland, and once again, thank you both for joining us on the show on SportsNetUSA.net.